The courtroom was drowning in silence, one of those heavy, suffocating silences that tell you something terrible is about to happen. The Joker sat chained to the chair, head slightly bowed, his green hair falling over his eyes like he was praying or planning. No one could tell which. That's what terrified them the most. The judge, already sweating through his robe, glanced at the Joker as if looking at a ticking bomb. Then, without saying a single word, he lifted 2 fingers and subtly signaled the bailiff, "Move on him. End this tension." It was supposed to be a simple command, a quiet order to control a man they believed was already broken. But the moment the bailiff stepped forward, something shifted in the air, like a trap had been waiting to snap shut. Within seconds, the entire courtroom realized a brutal truth. The only person not afraid in that room was the one they were trying to subdue, and the move they thought would silence the Joker. It backfired so fast, it changed everything. Before the chaos begins, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you never miss the stories that peel back the masks people hide behind. The bailiff's footsteps echoed through the courtroom, slow, heavy, uncertain. He was a tall man, broad-shouldered, trained to pull violent criminals to the ground without hesitation. But today, something in his stride faltered. Maybe it was the Joker's stillness. Maybe it was the way the Joker didn't look at him, but seemed to be listening to something only he could hear. Or maybe it was the fear leaking out of every corner of the room, settling on them like dust. The judge cleared his throat, trying to look authoritative, but his voice cracked as he said, "Proceed." That single word gave the bailiff permission to act, but it also gave the Joker permission to smile. And he did, slowly, like a blade sliding out of a sheath. Not wide, not exaggerated, just enough to make the bailiff hesitate mid-step. Most people feared the Joker because of what he had done, but those in the room feared him for what they suspected he could still do, even with chains biting into his wrists. The bailiff reached out to grab him, and, as if he had been patiently waiting for that single moment of contact, the Joker lifted his head. His eyes were calm, too calm. "You're late," he whispered. The bailiff froze. The judge blinked, and the entire courtroom seemed to stop breathing. Because the Joker didn't say it like a joke. He said it like a fact, like he had expected this exact second to arrive. "What did you say?" the bailiff asked, gripping Joker's shoulder tightly. The Joker tilted his head, gauging the man's strength, his stance, his pulse. "I said," he leaned closer, "you're late. They were supposed to send someone braver." A murmur rippled through the court. The judge slammed his gavel. "Silence!" But the room wasn't obeying him anymore. All eyes were locked on the man in chains, who spoke with more authority than the man sitting above them. The Joker chuckled, softly, almost sympathetically. "You don't even know what you're stepping into, do you?" The bailiff tried to yank him up, but the Joker didn't resist. Instead, he rose smoothly, his movements unsettlingly controlled. For a man who looked like chaos incarnate, his discipline was terrifying. "You think I'm the problem," the Joker said, turning his head toward the judge. "But you're the one trembling behind the bench. You're the one who refused to hear my statement earlier." His eyes narrowed. "And you're the one who knows you can't afford for me to speak today." The judge's face drained of color. "Restrain him," he ordered. But the Joker wasn't done. "I warned you," he said, looking back at the bailiff as if offering final advice. "Never stand close to a man the system is trying to silence. The danger doesn't come from him. It comes from who's trying to shut him up." The bailiff lifted his hand to force the Joker's head down. That was the mistake. With a sudden twist, sharp, precise, the Joker shifted his weight just enough to send the bailiff stumbling sideways. Not a violent attack, not a strike, just a perfectly calculated move, exploiting the bailiff's imbalance. The man crashed against the table, losing grip of the Joker's arm. Gasps filled the courtroom. Lawyers rose from their seats. The judge lurched forward in panic. And the Joker? He simply stood there. Unchained? No. Still cuffed. Still bound, yet in complete control. The bailiff scrambled up, furious and humiliated. "He shoved me!" But the Joker shook his head gently. "No, you slipped." He nodded toward the polished floor. "But don't worry. They'll blame me anyway. They always do." The judge shouted, "Enough. This trial is adjourned. Guards, take him back to the holding." The Joker laughed. Not loud, not maniacal, just honest. almost broken. Adjourned? Really? He raised his shackled wrists. You think walking me out of this room will stop what's coming? A cold shiver moved through the gallery because for the first time, the Joker didn't sound like a villain threatening chaos. He sounded like a man revealing a truth no one wanted to hear. You're scared of me, he said softly, because you know I'm the only one willing to say what everyone else is too afraid to admit. The bailiff grabbed him again, this time with more force. But before dragging him away, he whispered harshly, whatever you think you know, it won't matter. The court has already decided. The Joker's smile returned, this one tragic, almost sympathetic. Oh, I know, he replied, but you should ask yourself something. He leaned closer, voice dropping into a chilling calm. If the court had already decided, why bring me here at all? The bailiff hesitated. The judge stiffened, and in that hesitation, the Joker delivered the final blow, not with fists, not with violence, but with truth. Because someone in this room, he whispered, scanning the audience, needed to see me alive before they make me disappear. Every head turned, every heartbeat quickened, and then, from the back of the courtroom, a woman stood up. Her voice trembling, she said, "He's right." The entire room snapped toward her. The Joker's smile widened. The twist had begun. Her words didn't just interrupt the room, they shattered it. The woman standing in the back looked nothing like someone who belonged in a courtroom. No suit, no badge, no authority. Just a trembling figure with tired eyes and a voice that seemed to carry years of buried truth. The judge's reaction was instant and panicked. "Ma'am, sit down. You are not permitted to." "He's right," she repeated, louder this time, her voice cracking under the pressure. "They weren't supposed to bring him here, not today, not after what he told me." The gallery erupted in confused whispers. The bailiff tightened his grip on Joker's arm. The judge slammed the gavel, his voice trembling. "Someone remove her immediately." But the guards didn't move, because the woman wasn't looking at the judge. She was looking at the Joker. Her eyes, full of fear, guilt, and something painfully familiar, locked with his. And for the first time in the entire trial, the Joker's expression changed. Not to mock, not to provoke, but to feel. "Hello, Lila," he whispered. A murmur ran through the room like electricity. The judge paled, the prosecutor stiffened, and the bailiff's grip on the Joker tightened instinctively, as if the woman's name alone was dangerous. Lila took a shaky step forward. "I told you not to come today," she said, voice breaking. "I told you they were planning something." The Joker tilted his head, studying her like she was the world's most painful memory. "You did," he said softly, "but I never listened to good advice. You know that better than anyone." The judge finally stood. "Bailiff, guards, remove her now." Still, no one moved, because every guard in the room was staring at Lila with the same confusion. How did she know him? Why was he speaking to her with something resembling affection? Lila ignored the judge completely. "They're not putting you on trial," she said, tears forming. They never were. This was a setup. A ripple of panic crossed the judge's face. Too fast, too raw, like a mask slipping for a fraction of a second. Only one person noticed it, the Joker, and he smiled with the calm of a man who had been waiting for that expression. "Ah," he breathed, "there it is." The bailiff shoved him impatiently. "Move." But Joker didn't move. Instead, he lifted his eyes toward the bench. "Judge Halden," he said quietly, "do you want to tell them, or should I?" The judge's voice cracked. "I don't know what he's talking about." Lila's voice cut through the lie. "Yes, you do." The courtroom froze as she reached into her coat, not for a weapon, not for anything dangerous, but for something far worse for the judge, a folded piece of paper, old, wrinkled, tear-stained. "Do you remember this, Judge?" she asked. "You signed it." The judge's teeth clenched, his face flushing red. "Enough! You are trespassing. You're interfering with court operations. And if you speak another word, you'll do what you did to him?" She shot back. Whispers roared through the room. Even the bailiff loosened his grip slightly, stunned. The Joker took a breath, slow, steady, and then spoke in a tone that carried both pain and precision. "When Lila's brother tried to expose the judge," he said, "they silenced him, buried him under a false charge, destroyed his life." He lifted his shackled hand slightly. "And I did what I always do. I showed up where the system failed." Lila wiped her eyes. "My brother wasn't a criminal," she said to the room. "He was a clerk. He found out what the judge was doing, taking money, fixing cases, destroying anyone who got too close. And when he threatened to report it, they made it look like suicide." The Joker finished quietly. The courtroom felt suddenly colder. The judge sputtered, This is lies, fabricated nonsense." But his voice shook uncontrollably, and the audience noticed. Everyone noticed. The Joker exhaled slowly. "I warned you, Judge. I told you bringing me here wouldn't end well for you." The bailiff looked between the Joker and the judge, confusion turning into realization. "Judge Halden, is any of this true?" The judge slammed the gavel again, harder, desperately. "Bailiff, restrain him! Do your job!" But the bailiff didn't move. For the first time, everyone saw the truth. The courtroom wasn't afraid of the Joker anymore. They were afraid of the judge. The tension snapped when Lila whispered, "Tell them what you did." The judge grabbed the edge of his bench, gripping it like he might fall. "Guards!" he screamed. "Arrest her! Arrest him! Arrest!" His sentence cut off, because the Joker, still cuffed, still restrained, leaned forward and asked a single question. "Who paid you this time?" Silence. A deadly, suffocating silence. And then, from the side door, a man in an expensive suit slipped inside. Too expensive, too polished, too deliberate. The moment the judge saw him, all color left his face. The Joker's smile sharpened. "Ah," he whispered, "there he is." The entire courtroom turned toward the newcomer, but the man didn't speak. He didn't need to. His presence alone was enough. Lila staggered backward. No, they told me he left the city." The Joker's eyes glowed with cold satisfaction. "Lila," he said softly, "meet the man your brother died trying to expose." The suited man took one step forward. The judge took one step back, and everyone in the room understood the horrible truth. The Joker wasn't the danger. He was the warning. And the real monster had just walked into the room. And just when they thought the Joker was the storm, they realized he was only the thunder, warning them of the real disaster walking free in the shadows. If you want to know what happens next, make sure to subscribe, because the truth in this story is only getting darker.